Today I don't feel like doing anything. I just wanna lay in my bed. Don't feel like picking up my phone, so leave a message at the tone. 'Cause today I swear I'm not doing anything.
Gentle loving hugs, and thanks for turning into the Fibro Friends radio show here on healthinforadio.com, part of the Entertainment Global Media Network, broadcasting out of heavenly Clearwater, Florida. If you feel like doing nothing at all today, then just sit back or lie down. We're here to educate you with a full spectrum of information on fibro, advocate on the behalf of all fibro friends for fibro awareness and the need for more research, and support each other with laughter and love. New to fibro? Wonder what it is? Fibromyalgia is a complex chronic disorder involving a malfunction in how the brain processes pain, which leads to other multiple dysfunctions in the body. Some of the main symptoms of fibro are pain and fatigue, sleep disorder, memory and concentration, depression, digestive disorders, hypersensitivity. So today, you've tuned into Fibro Friends. So please welcome your host, Laura Rosa.
Hi, I'm Laura Rosa, and I have a guest today, Kathy McGuire. Say hi, Kathy.
Hello, hello. Good to be here.
Well, today we were thinking about focusing on fibromyalgia. How original!
How original! What a great idea.
Thank you. You've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, correct?
Yes.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about your story, when you were diagnosed, how you're functioning, whatever you're comfortable sharing about yourself?
Okay. Back in 2002, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Actually, it was confirmed through a muscle biopsy. They thought I had muscular dystrophy. They were sure I had muscular dystrophy. So we argued about the muscle biopsy because I'd already had one when I was a child, because they thought I had muscular dystrophy then.
Why did they think you had it as a child?
I couldn't walk. I had pain and I could not walk. So
did they ever figure out what was the underlying cause when you were little? Okay.
No, they actually put me on Telectin, which was an experimental drug at the time, and therapy, and I learned how to walk again in about 4 weeks.
Wow. How old were you?
I was in 6th grade.
That had to be really scary.
Yeah, it was scary because the year before I had a lumbar sympathectomy, which is something normally used on the elderly population.
Okay.
Like your grandma or grandpa might have it done.
Okay. And
at the time, I don't know if anyone else has had it younger since then. This was in the 70s.
Right.
So I was the youngest person in history at that time to have a lumbar sympathectomy. And I was in Houston, Texas, which was a good place to be.
Yes,
they have great medical centers. And I was very fortunate to have Dr. Cooley's medical team, Denton Cooley, who was the protege of Dr. DeBakey, who was the one who did the first heart bypass surgeries.
Wow, you were at the right place at the right time.
Well, as soon as they found out, his protege was Dr. Rukash, and Dr. Rukash was going to do the surgery.
You've lost most of the audience by now.
I know.
All the names. But
I know, Dr. Rukash.
Dr. A, B, and C.
Dr. A, B, and C. Dr. C was going to do the surgery, Dr. Rukash.
And what is the surgery? I can guess by the words.
Lumbar sympathectomy. It has to do with the sympathetic nervous system.
They were onto something even back then.
Yep, they were. And it was actually, I had been injured at the roller skating rink, and my foot was messed up and not getting enough circulation.
Okay.
So they went in.
Caused this whole issue.
And so now my doctors now think what happened from that injury is that probably fibromyalgia started.
It sounds to me very likely that was the case. I've been doing some research on adolescents and children and fibromyalgia, which we can discuss at another time, but that's why I'm probing a little bit more here. So when they did this procedure, what did they do to you?
It was a major surgery.
Okay.
And I have a lovely scar about 5 or 6 inches long on my abdomen.
Okay.
And they went in and they cut the nerve that was blocking the circulation to my foot. It was actually cutting it off. My foot was actually dying. I was going to lose my foot if they didn't take care of it.
Gangrene was going to set in.
Not gangrene, just, well, I mean, it was turning
right.
black. I mean, it was starting to turn black.
Right.
So it was pretty much, that was their only choice. They had tried a bunch of other.
So they just went in there and they cut the nerve.
And when I woke up, my pain was gone and
you had function.
I had function.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was fantastic. And I thought, great, I'll never have anything like that again. Then the following year, I just had pain in my legs and I literally could not stand up. It became weaker and weaker.
You're kind of moving me into wanting to move the topic to fibromyalgia in children because it's so huge compared to what we think it is. There are so many kids. And I remember going through a time where I could barely walk because of the pain in my legs. So reading all this stuff has been an eye-opener. And the thing I want to get across is anyone who's suffering with fibromyalgia, if they have children, when they say, oh, I've got growing pains, is what everyone calls them, that may not be the case.
You are exactly right, because I can remember having, you call them Charlie horses. I remember having them so badly that my parents would have to take turns all night long rubbing my legs, and we would use that. Back then, all you had was Bengay, which smelled horrible, but it worked. Right. But it would take hours and hours, And my doctor just, they're just growing pains. Yes. Growing pains don't hurt that much, not for hours and hours and hours. And the thing was that. After I had the lumbar sympathectomy, they said you'll never have that issue probably again.
Right.
Unfortunately, what it ended up being was reflex sympathetic dystrophy.
RSD.
Yes. So, which a lot of people have fibro. There's some correlation there. And as they're doing more in research, they're finding more and more connections. And
the nervous system.
Exactly. This parasympathetic, sympathetic, and sympathetic nervous system, and how our bodies. It's a part of research that is probably I think it's relatively new, especially because a lot of it involves the brain. So they've not been able to
that is my understanding as well.
to do as much research. Now we're able to map the brains in so much more of an intense way with computers and with the technology that we have. Actually, when I was 16, now I had the surgery when I was 11 on the lumbar, the first surgery. And then when I was 12, that was when they told me, when they did the muscle biopsy, I did not have muscular dystrophy. Okay. They called it myopathy, which just means a disorder of the muscles.
Which means nothing.
Which means we have no idea what's wrong with you, but we're just going to treat the symptoms and hope you get better.
Kind of like the word idiopathic.
Yes, exactly.
Unknown origin.
Exactly. So I did get better, but I kept having, every time I got injured, and I loved to play sports back then. So every time I got injured, I would have a flare-up, which we all know the meaning of that word. Fibros know what flare-up means.
If you don't, it just means that your regular symptoms intensify severely until they're ready to calm down again.
Yes. So I dealt with it. I had it in my arms, my legs. I even had one point had really bad headaches that they couldn't figure out what was causing the headaches. So when I was 16, a doctor by the name, I'll throw another doctor name. This is Dr. D I'm mentioning now. Dr. Jankovic out of California. Had read my case because he was researching.
You were obviously, I can imagine, made it to the books.
Oh yeah, if you go look back, I'm sure they're all online now, but they're in some dusty medical research library. But there's some cases written. There's some things written up about me. Whenever I was sick, they had if there were doctors visiting, because in Houston, Texas, that is a major medical center, still is.
Right.
And so they would have people come if there were any visiting doctors from other countries. I had Russian doctors, British doctors. They would always want to see me if I was anywhere nearby, or they'd come to the doctor's office, or
firsthand.
The thing about it that we get a little bit upset. It was fun, when I was a young teenager. So, to see all the young, cute interns come in was fun. but then they would start drawing on you. So they would just and it wasn't like a grease pencil. Sometimes they pull like a magic marker and start writing on your legs. Like hello, I'm not a cadaver. I'm a human being. Could you like maybe use something that wipes off? You know, I thought that was kind of funny. So I did politely complain to the nurse that I don't mind them mapping me as long as it's something that will clean off relatively easy
within the first 3 or 4 weeks.
Exactly. So that was kind of weird because they would talk about you like you're not in the room.
You know, that's still an issue today that I think they need to brush up on those skills.
But the best thing about medical care at that time, it was very, it still was very patient doctor related.
So you had a rapport going.
You had a rapport, and you know, as sick as I was, I didn't have to go from like as an adult, you have to go take this test and wait for results, and doctors consult, then you wait for this, and you're spending weeks and weeks waiting for a diagnosis.
And you're treating with a variety of different doctors that don't know what the other
and they may
are
not
doing.
communicate exactly. So what was good then, because the way our medical system was set up, they would put you in the hospital, they would run all the tests in one location. And the doctors would sit there and actually meet at your bedside and discuss with you.
With the variety of specialists.
Yes. And so decisions were made effectively, decisively, and the cures or treatment were executed within a few weeks rather than months. And having been involved, and I learned at a very young age to communicate with my doctors. My parents were fantastic, but my dad had to work full time. My mom did. A lot of times I was up there by myself during the day, even at 11 and 12. My mom was there as much as she could be, but you know, she had to work.
Right.
And my parents were absolutely amazingly fantastic and always very supportive and always have been. Really I was very fortunate. Of course, they didn't want to see their baby in pain either.
That's very hard.
So that they just wanted me better. So by the time I was 16, Dr. Jankovic, the D doctor,
okay, good. Thank you.
He flew from California to Houston and examined me, read all my files, and said, "You have reflex sympathetic dystrophy."
And I'm sure you'd never heard of that before, nor your family.
No,
and a lot of people today
still don't
know what that is.
Right. And so anyway, he ended up being, I think at the time, I was told I was the second person with a confirmed diagnosis. They had confirmed a diagnosis in California.
RSD?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that was when I was 16.
That was so new.
30 years ago.
And to me, that's
new
in
the
medical diagnostic community.
Now, you can probably Google, and that may not be entirely correct, but
we have our disclaimer in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But that's what I was told. That among the first to be officially given, you know, the name, and that was after 5 years of a lot of missing school and pain, and
through a very rough time.
It was very rough.
Child.
It was rough. But
it turned out so well.
Well, I was very blessed. My last doctor, my last neurologist was, and I won't give you his name because I won't. Dr. E. Okay. He was really fantastic. He was into trying not to give you narcotics.
That's a really great thing.
Yeah. He was holistic before it was cool.
Some doctors are just so quick to
right out this prescription pad.
Get you comfortable and you'll leave him alone.
Well, he knew.
Don't do that.
Exactly. And part of my issue was when I first got sick, I had a photographic memory.
Wow.
Yes. I had a photographic memory. After 5 years of being on lots of narcotics, lots of medications that were experimental, they were experimental because they had no choice. Yes. I lost a lot of that. Once in a while it's still pretty strong, but never again to the level I had. And he knew that, and I told him that's why I wouldn't take any more painkillers.
Because you knew it was deteriorating.
Right. And
part of you.
And so he said, "Well, you know, I have this patient who has really bad migraines." And he said, "Let's try what we do for her." And so we put me on very high doses of niacin, not extended release, but the fast-acting kind. And when I would get a flare-up, and I would take that, the only pain medicine for the RSD.
That's your lingering issue at
that point. It would work. But the other problem was, I I was raised, there's nothing wrong with having a positive attitude. That's extremely important with
That's absolutely
any illness
true.
in life in general.
Absolutely.
However, you can be so positive that you don't see the reality.
That's true. That's called living in denial.
Exactly.
There's a line,
so there's a lot of denial going on in the world, and what I would do is I learned how to recognize the pain and deal with the pain. And what I would do before is say, oh, the pain will go away, the pain will go away, and then the flare-up would get so bad that it would linger for weeks instead of maybe a day or so. Not good. Not with RSD. Not good with fibro either. You need to take care of it right away. If you're feeling a flare-up, you need to get yourself whatever you're doing and focus on your health. So he taught me that, and one way that he did is he gave me the opportunity to learn to do biofeedback.
Excellent.
Which
you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah, biofeedback is, I call it, it's a form of meditation. It really is. That's exactly what it is, except that because it's done in a medical environment, they're able to actually calculate and register how your body is reacting to your meditation. Right. So you understand that you're doing it correctly.
You can actually see a machine showing that muscles relaxing and everything simmering down if you're doing it correctly.
Exactly. And so I always use a beach, because a beach to me is very, very mood-inducive, relaxing.
Yes.
And I learned at a very young age about meditation, and I used that tool quite a bit for pain. I'm not going to say I'm 100% great at it, but I do use it quite a bit. And I always know, for me, and this is just for me, everyone has different ways they meditate. There's no right way or wrong way.
Right.
You have to do what personally works for you. But for me, when I'm in the zone, I physically feel it, I spiritually feel it, I intellectually feel it, and I'll even I call it my blue wave, and it's almost like I'll see a blue wave out of the corner of my right eye that just goes across, and it's relaxing and it kind of flows. And I think that's because I use the beach scene so much that my mind is wanting to see the waves coming in. That's so cool. I know it sounds really peculiar, but it works for me.
Fascinating.
It works for me, and I can almost, now that I'm older and I've used it through the years, I wouldn't say that I've used it as much as I probably should have at some points in my life. But it's something in the past few years I've really tapped into again.
Okay.
For fibromyalgia.
So your whole life, you've always been battling a health challenge.
Yeah.
And basically, you get the RSD, and then you obviously must have had widespread body pain at some point where they diagnosed you with fibro on top of it.
I think the last time I had bad RSD flare-ups, I was about 18, and then it went away for a really long time.
Isn't that interesting? I don't know why.
I don't know why. They told me I might outgrow it. That was kind of their theory, so I just assumed that was correct.
It was gone. And then there was oh my gosh, here it is again.
Well, I kind of had a couple of mild flare-ups. I noticed when I would get ill with a virus or something, then I would feel the pain in my legs, which is normal.
So when did the fibromyalgia become part of your life?
That was I'm trying to think here. It was 97. I was in a car wreck.
That's very familiar.
Very familiar. It sounds, a lot of fibro people are going, oh boy, I've been there.
Yeah.
And I was pregnant. So I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, and we could not do any therapy or any medication.
Now, I want to ask you on that one. I was just recently read an article that said that when women who have fibromyalgia get pregnant, usually their symptoms disappear, but after the birth, they return.
That's amazing.
Now, did you have any of that?
I didn't. My family was a little concerned about me working. And at the time, I was a personal manager for my oldest daughter, who was a performer.
Okay.
And I was also working in human resources at a marketing company. I had gone in to just get a job doing, sales and marketing, and they ended up hiring me to do human resources and training, which was fantastic because it was a steady paycheck and I had my own hours. I could schedule my hours. which is what I was looking for, and so I'd have free time to manage my daughter. I was actually driving home from work. I had dropped off some training manuals at a copy place, and I was rear-ended as I was on Del Mabry hitting I-4, which a lot of people know that area, or 275, excuse me, here in Tampa.
That is like a...
Yeah, someone was looking at the oncoming traffic instead of the car in front of them, and, you know.
Yeah.
And...
one split second.
Yep, everything changed. My belly was bruised, so we went to the hospital, and the baby was fine, thank God. But my doctor was very, very cautious about making sure that I would be okay.
Right.
And, of course, obstetricians are concerned about malpractice because they pay a lot of money for it.
Them. Yeah, they have a right to be.
So I ended up being in bed the whole time.
He was very, very cautious.
Yeah. And I tell you what I used for my therapy was massage therapy.
Okay.
And that, I think that kept me from hurting. But I made the crucial mistake that I believe I made, and that's what brought on the full fibro in a period of years that really came about with different symptoms. Now I know what all those symptoms are. I didn't know then.
Right.
Was when I got after I had her, and of course, unfortunately, I had to have a C-section because they wouldn't let me move. You know, when the baby gets stuck, you're supposed to move around, and they wouldn't let me move. And, you know...
How long were you in the hospital?
You know what? My cell phone's on. Let me turn my cell phone off. I was just thinking
I can't hear it.
Well, we just don't want to have it.
Oh,
good. It's on vibrate. Never mind.
This is a fibro moment, if anybody wants to know.
That was a fibro fart, as I call it. Okay. Anyway.
So how long were you in the hospital?
I was only in for a few days with the C-section.
They hospitalized you, or they just put you to bed? Were you in the hospital?
I didn't have to go to the hospital, thank God. I was home. Was bed rest at home. Okay. If she told me if I did not take care of myself, then and I did not want to go to the hospital.
You get up, go to the bathroom,
right?
Pretty much that kind of thing.
And my insurance actually paid for someone to come in and clean and help me out. So that was fantastic.
We need to figure how we can work that in for people with fibromyalgia. Right.
That was great. So, the crucial mistake I made, rephrasing that again, the crucial mistake I made went after I had my daughter and I'd recovered from the C-section,
right,
was I should have gone into therapy for my back and from the car wreck, and I did not.
Because how much time had, or how far along were you in your pregnancy?
Well, the accident was the beginning of October, and she was born the end of January. So it was March when I could have started therapy.
So all the muscles were just sitting there. They usually rip, and then they contract, and the scar tissue builds up.
Right.
And you just had the baby and didn't go back and try and work through that.
No, I put work first.
You're right. What most mothers do.
I did. I put work first. My oldest daughter had an opportunity to do a really great Broadway show and be a headliner in a Broadway review up in Michigan. It was a great opportunity. Sure. And so she and the baby and I, we basically spent 6 months up there.
That's great.
Yeah, really well, exciting. It was great, but guess what happened?
You were in pain.
No, I got rear-ended again.
Oh my gosh. You can tell we didn't rehearse this because it's all new to me.
I got rear-ended again and didn't do therapy, didn't take care of myself again because I was working.
You had a baby?
I had a baby. I was working 7 days a week.
You really are going to pay a high price for that one.
And
out of experience.
A few years later, we found ourselves in New York City, and my body just started falling apart. I started with the stomach issues, the pain. I was seeing a chiropractor, which helped.
And they can only do so much at that point.
I didn't know anything about fibro.
Nobody did.
I mean, that was.
Nominal amount. It was.
I really didn't. It was. That was 1999 to 2001. And then
you're not blaming yourself for...
Oh, no. But I'm trying to educate people that when you get in a car wreck, it's important that you get your therapy, that you get your treatment, whatever it is, because if you don't, you will you were going to reap it later and not in a good way.
It can take up to 6 weeks before you feel the first pain from a whiplash.
Yes.
And that has to do with the scar tissue starting to build up. And if you get into treatment within the first couple of weeks, the physicians and the technicians will work to keep the muscles stretched out into their healthy position so that you can go on with your life without having permanent damage.
It's worth those few hours a week of therapy to prevent it long term. Yeah.
We have PIP. If you have any auto insurance, you have to have PIP. So you've got your medical bills taken care of for you.
Yes.
Take advantage of that and go do the treatment. You know,
and
really
don't
important.
sign on the dotted line and say you have no injuries until you're sure, because that could be a major issue for you. To make sure you do get your treatment. If you don't feel your pain, you may not feel it right away.
And my understanding is it takes approximately 6 months from a car crash till you start showing signs of fibro as an average. That's not it's not a researched, but that seems to be the rule of thumb. And so what the defense attorneys are now saying is it's not related, but that's because they don't understand the nature of fibromyalgia. And so attorneys who are taking these cases of women and mostly, and a few men who do get fibro after a car crash, they have the burden to prove that the injury is a direct cause
from the accident.
Thank you. And there's not enough information out there to justify it. So people are becoming healthy, and in 1 second, a crash. 6 months later, they start getting the fibro, totally clueless, not even thinking of the car crash. A couple years later, they're on disability, and they've already signed off. And
that's right.
And that was the originating issue. And in Florida, I'm not an attorney, but I do know this, the statute of limitations, you have up to 4 years to make a claim. You don't have to sign off anything. And if you carry uninsured motorist, you get an additional year, because if you max out the person that hit you's insurance,
yes,
and you are smart and purchase uninsured motorists, then you can go use your uninsured motorist. They're like stepping in the shoes of the defendant.
Right.
Okay.
And I actually had
motorists.
Well, actually, we're talking. I had the 2 accidents.
Right.
Guess what happened?
I don't know.
In 2002, after I had my muscle biopsy.
Right.
Okay. And I'm waiting for the results.
Okay.
And I'm on Neurontin and pain medicine.
Okay.
I was hit head on.
Oh my!
And that's
gosh.
what really.
Is that the third one?
That was the third one. So I had 3 car wrecks between 97 and 2002, like in 4.5 years.
Your body has been put through.
And I didn't, but I did not put my health first. And I can tell I am a living testimony to not only if you don't put your health first, what happens, but how you can put your health first and heal. And that's really what I wanted. I'm just giving you my background. So when I'm talking about it, you know that it's coming from not just 1 year or 1 accident. This is something going back to I'm 46. I don't mind saying that. I'll be 47 in a few weeks in October. So, but this started when I was 11. So I've been dealing with, things that some people never have to deal with in their life. Thank God.
Yes. If you're healthy, please don't take it for granted.
It is so, I can tell you, I'm a type A personality. You know that.
Yeah.
I'm a people person.
Yes.
I love school. I love learning. I love life in general. And it was very difficult to lose anything to fibro.
It can rob you.
It robs you of everything. And it's any your bad health can. I think for me, Laura and I got to know each other through the Tampa Fibro Friends group.
Our support group.
Yes.
That we have
which
here in Tampa.
She has done just the most amazing job. I didn't find out about it until after she'd had it for a few years. So I can tell
Thank you.
She has really, to stick with a support group for 4 years with all the dynamics and idiosyncrasies of people that come and go through a group is a lot of work, but she's doing it because it's her passion. Her passion is really advocacy, and that's why you're doing this show.
Absolutely.
And I'm so happy to be a part of this and support you in any way I can.
You have been, and you've been my inspiration.
Oh, well, thank you.
You were the one that was able to put the pieces together to create this.
I think this is a great format, as you know, this is still wearing its little bitty tiny diapers.
Yes, you're in the infancy stage.
The little newborn diapers. So it's developing and evolving, and people are going to look back at the early shows and go, wow, she really knew what she was talking about in the beginning, but look how far it's come. And I just know you're going to reach so many people with information and with stories like mine, and that are just going to touch people's lives. And I tell you all the time, I'm a functioning fibro.
Correct. You are always on the go. You're in your car. You're going here. Every time I talk to you, your list for the day is tremendous. My list every day, I get to put one thing on it to get accomplished. If it's a doctor's appointment, that's it for me. I never put anything on Mondays because that's the fibro show. So,
and every other Sunday is your support group. So you have that
support group. Yes. But today, I've been off for a couple days. Don't know why.
It's okay.
Part of what happened. So, I live in a different county than where the radio station is. So I got in my car. It's about an hour drive. And I'm about 45 minutes into the drive, and I realized that I went to the wrong direction. I should have been going to Clearwater, and I was in the middle of St. Pete. So
I've never done that before.
It's just one of those moments where you're like, what was I thinking? I see several doctors in St. Pete. So I was like, which exit? And then I'm like, I call the stage, the owner, and I said, I'm in St. Pete, and I'm supposed to go on the air in about 3 minutes. And I'm looking at 4th Street Avenue. How do I get there from here? He had no clue. I don't know St. Pete. But that's just, that's my daily life. I have those kind of issues come up pretty much daily.
That's okay.
It has to be okay.
But it's okay. And it's so funny because I'm the chiropractor I'm seeing now, who's absolutely fantastic. Because he's dealing with a lot of my scar tissue issues, doing some treatments with that.
Right.
And he pulled out my file because I had seen him once in 2010. And he pulled it out, and on the back page, because fibro people are really good at having a short list or a detailed list on just a couple of pages of their medical history, because we can't fill out regular forms. There are just not enough places to write it all. So I have, like, going back to my childhood, every major surgery and procedure and illness, and on like one page, 1.5 pages, and then you put all your medicines or vitamins. And
I have them all pre-typed out.
Exactly, I do too.
Before I go,
exactly.
Please, as you're just getting started or wherever you are, if you see you're starting to get into some complex issues with a lot of specialists, start early. Keep a list of your diagnoses, the list of your medications, and a list of your surgeries if you had some.
Procedures and surgeries, yeah. So you don't repeat them, because you can forget.
Form, you get your name, address, social, whatever, and then see attached.
Yeah, because not only you're going to be in pain when you go to the doctors, more than likely. You may not be functioning. Your brain may be foggy. And you're going to forget stuff, and then something's not going to get on there, and he or she is not going to be able to make an educated decision.
Right.
And even if you have a caregiver, they may forget something.
Of course.
So it's very important. It really is.
And even though you don't think that issue doesn't apply to seeing the specific specialist, you don't know. You're assuming it may or may not.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not trying to get off the subject, but I'm seeing several specialists right now, and I always ask them the same question. What are your thoughts about fibromyalgia? And their answer is, well, that's not my specialty. Well, my thinking is fibromyalgia affects every part of our body. Therefore, why would these specialists think that it's not their specialty? I feel like it's something that all medical providers need to get up to speed on. The information's there. It's on the computer, CLE classes, but you're going to have fibro people come through your office, and we are not, if you treat us the same way as a healthy person, you're not going to get the same results.
No, they
very,
really,
very different.
the thing with fibro is there are so many symptoms, as our intro talks about, that it does. Every doctor is going to have a patient with fibro that has a symptom, and he needs to know how they relate to what they do and what else is going on with other doctors.
Absolutely.
It's extremely important, and you have to be very assertive. And that's the hardest thing. And because I had that background as a child to be assertive. I mean, I've fired doctors as a child, basically.
They work for us.
They work for us.
That's right.
The insurance company are paying them, but we're paying the insurance company.
But they are,
even if you have Medicaid, they still work for you.
Yes. Please,
it doesn't matter.
Just
give them respect and be respectful, but just say, this relationship is not working. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hire a different doctor. And if they won't work with you, sometimes you don't even have to tell them. You just call the office and say, I need my records transferred. I've done that before. If you don't want to talk to them, it's real simple. You never have to see them again. Just have your records transferred to another person. I've done that before.
If you ask for a copy and they realize the relationship's not really great, the typical charge is $1 a page. So
yeah.
You want to just have them transferred.
Just have them transferred, yeah.
So you don't have to
a lot of them do it electronically now because pretty much all of them are on the computer. So it makes it a lot simpler and quicker for them and for you. They don't have to wait 3 weeks to get something. They'll get it within a week now.
It is much quicker.
But I think for me, it was so interesting when I went to the chiropractor like I was saying in 2010. And when I went this year and they pulled my record out and I look at it and I'm going, wow, I was on all that medicine 2 years ago?
Really?
So I'm saying that to say you can. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm never going to go back to being. I don't know. I mean, I can do my best. And my attitude is I never want to be in that cold, dark room again permanently or as long as I was for 8 years.
Is that a metaphoric statement or a realistic cold, dark room?
Oh, it was a cold, dark room. It was usually the lights were off. I mean, the television was off and on, or the radio.
Talking about your bedroom.
Yeah, my bedroom was a cold, dark. I don't mean like an insane asylum. I better clarify that.
Well, you could have meant it as an emotional place.
It was an emotional place,
so
and my environment was representative of how I felt. You're exactly right.
The case. They say if you want to know what's going on inside someone's head, go look at their environment.
Yeah,
and pretty much. It tells the truth.
It was. I literally, fibro people are really good at one thing, and that's scheduling. If you know you want to do something really important, you rest up until then.
Yes, you don't plan anything.
Like she was just talking about, she has one thing a day, and that's fine. And that's what I used to do. If I knew I had something important, I would rest 5 days before and plan to rest a few days afterward because you're so exhausted. You can physically do it at the time. It's afterwards that you feel horrible.
I'm going to have to bring the spoon story up. It's a great analogy that someone did, and it's spreading over the internet. I'm going to run over it really quickly. This girl writes the story as it happened, but she was trying to explain to her friend what it's like to live with fibromyalgia. And they're at a restaurant, and so she says, it's like these spoons. So she gathers some spoons from wherever, and she says, each day I know I'm only going to get X amount of spoons, say 8, 6, whatever her number was. And I have to get myself up and dressed. There goes a spoon. I have an appointment. There goes a spoon. Okay, now I've only got 4 spoons left. Now, I still know I have to do X, Y, and Z. And I thought it's about a page. It's a beautiful story.
It's very true.
And I think that her friend totally got and understood that once she ran out of spoons, there was nothing more she could physically and emotionally accomplish that would have any meaning or productivity. Like, you have to have a spoon reserved to drive yourself home and put yourself to bed. And sometimes spend all their spoons and they still have to get home.
That's right.
And I have slept in my car because I know if I drive, I am worse than a drunk driver. I get double vision. I get sleepy. I get confused on red and green lights. It's just gone. The lights are off.
But you recognize that. How many people with fibro push themselves and don't recognize that they're a safety hazard to themselves and others? And
I hope not many.
That's something you got to think about, guys. When you're planning your schedule, if you're new to fibro, yes, and you're planning your schedule, think about not only how you're going to get there, but you've got to conserve that spoon, that energy, yes, to get back home.
Yes.
You really do.
Yes. Or find someone to pick you up. And you can get a ticket for being too tired and driving.
Right. If you start wavering, exactly, you're impaired. And so it's, I think for me, and I'm not going to go much into detail on this but basically for me, I use the term paradigm shift for those of you who are Dr. Dyer fans. I had a huge paradigm shift back in 2008, and that really started me on my path to healing and to getting better. One of the major things that happened was I heard a speaker, and I started listening to the speaker. And
is that Wayne Dyer?
No, I'm not going to say who it was because it was a political person, but they were talking more about personal responsibility and individuality and how we can change the world if we change ourselves, basically, which is a very common New Thought principle. And
that's common sense.
It is.
Start at home. It's got to start with you.
But I think for me, because I've been sick so long, I started thinking, well, I'm not worth anything. I can never, and I kept being told, you'll never be able to work like you used to. You'll never be a personal manager. You'll never be in the entertainment. You'll always have a walker. You can't walk long without a scooter. God knows what's going to happen as you get older. Your organs are just going to fall apart. I mean, and I'm not saying that to pick on anyone. I'm saying that for me, I fed that to myself. I just kind of gave up. And one day I looked at my daughter, my second daughter, the one who, when I was pregnant with her, I had the car wreck in 97. And this is in 2008, so she was about 10 years old. And I realized that I had never driven her anywhere. I had never taken her to the mall. I had never taken her to a movie by myself.
Just the two of you?
Never. And I realized she did not know me as anything but sick.
Yeah.
And that was motivation that it's almost like slapped me in the face. And I said, I'm going to get better for her.
That's all she knew.
I want to be better. I want her to see me as normal as I can be. Do we have a commercial break? No? I thought she was waving at us. Sorry. I guess we're not getting a commercial break this hour. So anyway, she ended up really, that was my motivation for getting better, and the huge motivation.
That's a good one.
So
if you can't do it for your kids.
Yeah, you got to do it for yourself. But my motivation for myself was that I wanted to be a better mother, and that I wanted to live my passion as an individual, contributing to the world in service however I could. And those were the two things that got me better. Yes. And I look at you and I see your passion for advocacy for fibro. And that is what's going to get you better.
It is.
That is your motivating not only to your improved health, mm-hmm. but that's what's going to motivate you to help others more and more and more. You're just the beginning of this amazing journey. You really are.
I have a lot to get through, and I'm going to ride this trip with the show. We're going to acclimate my health.
Good.
And the show, and that's going to become a segment. I keep saying next week. But
that's okay. When it happens, it happens. It's okay.
Emotionally get naked out there and, let you share with everybody, where I am with my health and what steps I'm taking to turn my life around. Because, I'm a mother of 4 and I'm new to the world of being a grandmother. And he is this beautiful little boy. he's about almost 4 months old, and it'll go 6 weeks, and I can't get over there to see him. My arms, my muscles and all that, holding him is
See,
and I have got to rebuild from the inside out, and it starts emotionally
and
healing,
spiritually.
and absolutely
And spiritually. It doesn't matter.
And the body will follow.
It doesn't matter spiritually who God is to you. You can call him Sparky. I know people call him Sparky. I swear. Sparky. You can call God she, he, whatever floats your boat. But you've got to find some kind of a spirituality, because that's really what's going to, if you read or you Google, read whatever, any book in the library that talks about people who have been through major health issues, every single one of them got through it with a positive attitude, and spirituality really assists in that.
You have to keep your mind out of the gutter and in the past of, oh, poor is me, woe me.
And it's hard. It's hard.
You're right.
I'm not saying I do it all the time, because I'd be a liar, but I'm saying to try to do that. And that's why if you focus on your intentions, and my intention was to try to be a better mother, which is, my fibro unfortunately has ended in my marriage has ended because my caregiver,
sadly,
really got a high off taking care of me. He really did. He's an amazing, amazing man.
But he liked you being in a position of need for him.
I think for him that was, and as I came out of it and I rediscovered who I was prior to being sick, that's who he fell in love with. That's who he married. When he married me, I said, get ready for an adventure, because marriage, my life with me is always an adventure, and he was up for that. But after 8 years of being ill and me being the primary focus, I no longer needed him. And I think if we had been smart and gone through therapy, then maybe our marriage might have stuck. I don't know. But what it is what it is. The important thing is I'm still a mother. I have a 24-year-old daughter, woman, I guess she's a woman now, and a 14-year-old teenager. And, that intention, and the most important for me, and part of this is being a mom, is having that passion, finding my passion. And I won't go into all that, but just basically find your passion. What was your passion before you had fibro?
Right.
Maybe you have a new passion because of how fibro has impacted your life.
Right.
If you focus on that daily, through the pain, through the doctors, through the prescriptions, through the procedures, which are awful sometimes, that will keep you looking forward so that you can deal with the moment that you're in. And when you talked about children, there is nothing more than children or animals that teach you how to live in the moment.
Absolutely.
Because they live in the moment. We have to still live in the moment and appreciate the moment. And to deal with those moments, it's our passion that gets us through it. I truly believe that. If you can just take that one thing today from the show, how did Kathy McGuire go from using a walker and a scooter in 2010 to being a healthier, functioning fibro on her way?
You are on fire, girl.
I am totally on fire.
Yes,
I am.
You are.
And I'm here for a purpose. I know what my purpose is. And part of that is helping other people with fibro.
And I'm so grateful that you have come into my life to give me the ability to find an outlet that I'm enjoying. And now, instead of, being in my room when I'm done with my one item of the day and thinking about what could have been or should have been, I get excited thinking what I can do to help others to plan. And we're also starting a new support group in Pinellas County. It's going to be Pinellas County Fibro Friends that we're going to be meeting. There was a group that fell apart a while back. There's a strong need. And my previous co-host, Jessie, is going to be heading that up. Just want to note that. It should be starting in a couple of weeks. So for those of you in the Pinellas County area who had a support group that folded, there will be another one coming shortly. And I'm going to give her a hand with getting that one up and running.
So you're already making a difference.
And it feels so good. I mean,
and you have been, but now you're reaching beyond that local support group, and you're going to be affecting globally, because through the internet, you can affect people globally, which is the fantastic thing about Intertech Global Media, is being able to share the show with others, post the link. You know, let's make it go viral. So if you have fibro and you're watching this, or if you know someone who has fibro and you're watching this, share the link. Share it on your Facebook. It takes you 30 seconds to share this link, and you never know whose life could be changed from the information on this show. It only takes someone with fibro or any health issue to hear one story that they'll go, I can do that too. I can be better. Or I'm going to try this in my life on how to sleep better. She's got so much fantastic research, which I didn't let her talk about much today.
No problem.
But I really wanted to share my story today. I don't know when I'm going to have time again. So I thought it was a good time to share my story. Laura's never even heard all of it. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I caught her on the fly. So it was going to be a different format. That's what I love about our lives. It's flexible, and I just am willing to go with the flow wherever it takes us. And Kathy, you have been an awesome guest. I hope you'll join us again down the road. I want to get to the rest of how you transformed to an energetic go-getter, and I hope I'm going to say a year and a half, I want to be catching up to you.
Oh, you already are. You're on your way.
I think we're running out of time. And thanks for tuning in. And I hope you'll stay with us. And we'll be back next Monday, 7 o'clock Standard Eastern Time. And you can visit us on our website, www.radio.healthradio. Let's do this again.
You know what? It's okay. It's all on the outro.
It's behind me.
It's all on the outro. Just play the outro. Play the outro, Shar. We're out of here.
Good night.
Good night. Remember, fibromyalgia can strike any person at any age. If you feel that you may be suffering from fibromyalgia, please contact your medical provider as soon as possible for proper diagnosis and a treatment plan that works for you. We are not a replacement for professional medical advice, but we are your fibro friends for advocacy and education and support. We encourage you to share via email, Facebook, or Twitter through a link from any of our shows that can be found on our website at fibrofriendsradioshow.com and on Facebook at Fibro Friends Radio Show, with your doctor's support system of friends and family and your fellow fibro friends. Remember, laughter is still the best medicine, so share the fibro funny today and keep a smile on your face and in your heart. So pass this Fibro Friends smiling, gentle hug full of love to someone in pain today, because it's always the love that heals.